Johannesburg, South Africa. The home team is about to face off against New Zealand in the final game of the 1995 World Rugby Cup. And while the Kiwis are heavily favored to win the match, the South Africans have a secret weapon hand-delivered by Nelson Mandela to Francois Pienaar, captain of the team. What Mandela handed to Francois was a source of strength for him and his team to draw on during the match. And no, I'm not talking about some last-minute performance-enhancing drugs. Come on, guys. But rather a passage from a speech. The words of this speech have served as inspiration for countless people to seek out high achievement. Incoming freshmen to the U.S. Naval Academy are encouraged to memorize them. They've been found on LeBron James' shoes, and they helped the South Africans win that 1995 World Rugby Cup. In short, the passage from this speech should be a source of strength for anyone seeking to go out and achieve something, whether in business or life. Here's an excerpt from that speech, often referred to as the man in the arena, given by Theodore Roosevelt in 1910. And if you stay to the end, I have 3 actionable takeaways that just might help you in your own pursuit of high achievement. Cue the epic music. The poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride and cynicism. There are many who confine themselves to criticism of the way others do what they themselves dare not even attempt. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect, than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief toward all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort which, even if it fails, comes second to achievement. A cynical habit of thought and speech, a readiness to criticize work which the critic himself never tries to perform. All these are marks not, as the possessor would feign to think, of superiority, but of weakness. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. The last line from this excerpt gets me every time. The idea that you could live your whole life and at the end of it only amount to a timid soul is haunting. So here are 3 takeaways from this speech that can help us step into the arena. First, prioritize action and embrace imperfection. There has never been a time in the history of mankind where there has been more information available than today. And all that's great, but it can cause a lot of people to fall into the trap of analysis paralysis. First, just know that if you try to consume all available knowledge in existence about your endeavor before you step into the arena and start doing, you'll never start. You'll never start. And by the process of elimination, you force yourself to become a critic of those who do. You begin to understand where Joe is wrong and where Sally has it right, and you build up in your mind how you will execute. But wait, before you do, first you need to go watch Steve's video about the topic or read Rachel's new book. You have to be able to prioritize action and learn along the way. And look, this is not to say that you should willy-nilly try to tackle risky endeavors of which you know nothing about. But it is to say that digesting everything about a certain topic is just not a requirement to start. Remember that there's no effort without error and shortcoming. Embrace the reality that you will make mistakes and move forward. Takeaway number 2, accept that there will be critics and filter them. I'm sure at some point we've all had the delightful experience of watching football with family or friends where Uncle Bob or whoever it is keeps telling Joe Burrow what he should have done instead of what he did. Right? There's nothing easier than critiquing from the sidelines. And just know that the very moment you step into the arena and you sign that lease or throw up the website or publish the video, everyone, people you know and people you don't know, will suddenly have PhDs in how to do what you're trying to do. That's just how it is. Accept it. Remember though, it is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to those in the arena. You shouldn't listen to everyone. But you also can't simply plug your ears and listen to no one. It is your job to establish the filter and identify the few people whose critiques you will take seriously. And those people probably shouldn't be the folks sitting on the sidelines. Our last takeaway, at least for today, is understand what failure looks like and reframe its meaning. Look, failure is a real possibility, and it's often painted as like the ultimate catastrophe. But rather than fear it, you need to understand it. There's a whole discipline in the field of finance called risk mitigation, which is to say that when a company wants to take a new course of action, you first think through all the associated risks to the organization. And after you do that, you identify strategies that can help you hedge against those risks. The same is true when you start your own endeavor. Don't be shy in identifying the risks and ways to protect against them. For example, there's always concern about risking personal assets when going into business. So you want to take the time to establish a proper legal entity to shield yourself. You want to do your best to structure capital raises that don't tie up personal assets as collateral. You can't eliminate all risks of failure, but you should understand what they are, have a sense for the probability they will occur, and mitigate their severity. If you do this, failure is not some unknown monster lurking in the shadows of your business, but simply a potential outcome that you've planned for. But if your endeavor does fail, first of all, know that you are in the company of just about every other successful entrepreneur, most of whom experienced failure many times before they had success. But secondly, Roosevelt's point is that it is entering the arena and striving that counts. And that even if you do fail, at least you fail daring to do something great. And by so doing, you separate yourself from those who never had the courage to try. Those who he describes as the cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Look, this speech has meant a lot to me. It reminds me that mistakes and critics and failure are all part of the journey. Things will not go perfectly, but at least we will have understood that the regret of inaction is ultimately far more damaging to the soul than the scars gained in the pursuit of our dreams. So what's the next goal you are going to step into the arena and fight to achieve? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to see how this fighting spirit plays out in the world of entrepreneurship, check out this video on how an idea described by its founder as the worst idea that ever worked rose above a generous amount of critics and opposition to become a company worth billions. We'll see you there.